Hello, learners. Welcome to the GES Digital Intervention Program for Senior High Schools. English Language, Grammar. Lesson number 7. The topic for this lesson is phrases, and the lesson title is Verb and Adverb Phrases. I am your facilitator, Seth Amuakun. Now, let us look at our expectations in this lesson. You will identify verb phrases, use verb phrases correctly in sentences, then you identify adverb phrases and tell the functions of adverb phrases. This is the lesson outline. In section 1, we shall treat verb phrases and then deal with adverb phrases in section 2. These are the keywords: modify, auxiliary, dependent, predicates, modal, infinitives, and then participles. Before we come to the verb phrase, you remember we dealt with the adjective phrase in the last lesson. I hope you remember what we said the adjective phrase is. I guess so. The adjective phrase we said was a group of words with the adjective as the head. And the adjective phrase gives information about a noun or a pronoun. And we realize that adjective phrases modified nouns and sometimes served as complements. In this lesson, we are going to look at the verb phrase, which is a critical element in sentences. In fact, the functions of the other elements in a sentence depend upon the verb phrase. So in a way, the verb phrase is a bridge in a sentence. Without the verb phrase, you cannot talk about the object, the complement, or the adverbial. So, what is a verb phrase? Can you define what a verb phrase is? A verb phrase consists of a main verb and its auxiliary verbs, including modals. Let us look at this example. We have been working since 9 a.m. The verb phrase in this sentence is have been working. Have been working is the verb phrase in the sentence, and it indicates the action performed by the subject we. Look at the second example. I will be going to Koforidua next week. What is the verb phrase? Will be going certainly is the verb phrase in this sentence. And in the third example, we have it may have been repaired, and the verb phrase is may have been repaired. So you realize that the verb phrase is made up of a group of words. The verb and its modifiers. In a sentence, when you are asked about the verb, for example, in sentence 1, you are going to say have been working. The whole of have been working is the verb in the sentence. You are not going to pick one out of the phrase as the verb of the sentence. Now let us look at the functions of verb phrases. As I said earlier, the verb phrase serves as a link between the subject and the other elements. So, the verb phrase serves as a link between the subject and the object. Look at the example. Mary should have sent the books home. The verb phrase in this sentence is should have sent, and the object is the books. So the verb phrase is serving as a link between the subject and the object. We go to the second example and we see that the verb phrase again links subjects to complements. The gifts presented were expensive. The verb phrase there, were, is linking the subject, the gifts presented, to the complement expensive. Sentence 3, verb phrases complete sentences. We have the verb phrase here as was weeping. It's completing the sentence, he was weeping bitterly. Without the verb phrase, this sentence cannot be complete. Example 4, we have the boy shouldn't have insulted his uncle. Here, the verb phrase is performing the function of the head of a predicate. Shouldn't have insulted his uncle. 5, verb phrases indicate actions performed on objects. We have the object, the cat. We have the subject, the dog. And the action being performed by the dog, it has bitten. And the action is being performed on the cat, the object. Six, verb phrases help complements to give more information about subjects. What we have on the slide is the food tastes good. The subject is food, and we have the verb phrase as taste, and we have a complement there providing information about the subject. Now, learners, that does it for the verb phrase, and it is important that you know that without the verb phrase, you cannot talk about the functions of the other elements. When we talk about the subject, we say the subject is functioning as the subject of a sentence because of the verb. So, if a question is asked, you will say it is the subject of the verb. In the same vein, you are going to identify the object of a sentence and say that it is the object of the verb in the sentence. I hope you've grasped all that we've said about verb phrases. Shall we now move on to the adverb phrase? What is an adverb phrase? I suppose you know what an adverb phrase is. Since you've learnt that, it is the name of the head word of a group of words that gives that particular phrase its name. So, obviously, the adverb phrase is headed by an adverb, and the adverb phrase does the work of the adverb. It modifies verbs, adjectives, adverbs, and prepositions. So let's see what we have for the adverb phrase on the slide. An adverb phrase can be a single adverb or a group of words built around a single adverb. Here are 3 examples. Please do it now. We have now as an adverb functioning as the adverb phrase in the sentence. He spoke very softly. Very softly is the adverb phrase, telling us how he spoke. Then we have they did it as fast as possible. And in all these instances, you realize that the adverb phrase is modifying the verbs in the sentences. As we've learnt already, an adverb phrase has an adverb as its head. For example, very quickly. Like single adverbs, they modify verbs, adjectives, or adverbs. Let us examine these examples. 1. He opened it extremely easily. In this sentence, we have extremely easily, an adverbial phrase modifying the verb opened. I will do it quite soon. The adverb phrase there is quite soon, and it is modifying the verb I will do. And take note that I didn't say it modifies the verb do. The verb in the sentence is will do. 3. I run so fast. So fast is the adverbial phrase modifying the verb run. Look at sentence 4. It was quite unexpectedly kind. The adverb phrase there is quite unexpectedly, and it is modifying the adjective kind. Sentence 5. He came very surprisingly quickly. Very surprisingly quickly is the adverb phrase. But in this instance, we have very surprisingly, an adverb phrase modifying quickly, which we can also term as an adverb phrase or an adverb. So far, so good. You are going to try this. We have 2 columns there. We have the verb phrase column, then we have the adverb phrase column. You have a few seconds to identify the phrases. In the first instance, the verb phrases in the 4 sentences, and then the adverb phrases in the other 4 sentences. I hope you are done with the work, and I believe that you were able to do the work without any problem. Now, compare your answers with mine. For the verb phrase, the first sentence, I hope you identify shall travel as the verb phrase. Second, was eating is the verb phrase. And in the third sentence, would have caught is the verb phrase. In the fourth sentence, we have was watching as the verb phrase. Now to the adverb phrases. The first sentence, very furiously, is the adverb phrase. And quite fast is the adverb phrase in the second sentence. In the third sentence, we have very hard as the adverb phrase. Fourth sentence, very well, functioning as the adverb phrase in the sentence. Learners, time for reflection. Reflect on all that you have learned. What have you learned about verb phrases? What is the composition of the verb phrase? We have said the verb phrase is composed of the main verb plus its auxiliaries, including modals. What about the adverb phrase? The adverb phrase has an adverb as its head, and the adverb phrase functions as an adverb, modifying verbs, adverbs, adjectives, and prepositions. Learners, this is where we bring the curtain down until we meet in the next lesson. I say goodbye.